He has one of the most famous last names in Central Virginia. But Rob Ukrop chose not to go into the family grocery business. Now he's leading one of Richmond's favorite sports franchises, but he still stresses the importance of customer service. Today on Untold, we talk family, soccer, and serving the community. Welcome back to Untold, and joining me today is Rob Ukrop, a last name any Richmonder would know. How are you doing?
Great, thanks for having me. It's excited for Christmas right around the corner here.
Yeah, we're excited that you're here. We have lots of people in this newsroom that I know that I was working here a long time ago as a reporter, and this would have been like 2009, and I was here through the time that the Ukrop stores closed, and there was like devastation. There was devastation in this community when your family business closed its doors.
No, it was definitely around 2010. It was a stressful time and for a lot of people, and just, there's different phases of life and some transition, but my mom and dad made the decision along with my uncle and my aunt, and just it was a family decision, and it was very difficult, but I think looking back could have gone smoother probably, but we really appreciate all the wonderful, loyal shoppers that we've had. Hopefully they're still shopping with the Ukrop's Market Hall over there at Free Chopped in Patterson. But no, I mean, it's a great legacy. My granddad started, I think it was 700 square feet over there on Hull Street Road with my grandmother back in, I think, 1937. So it's a long time ago. They did a great job, and really, I mean, whatever the Ukrop, members of the family, not even my cousins and my siblings and my mom and my dad and my uncle, everything that we get involved in, we feel like that DNA kind of carries over. So, we try and be customer service oriented, and, that was the thing. My granddad and my grandmother, they put people first. They would close on Wednesday afternoons during the war to go help the farmers take in the crops, since the farmers are gone and their wives were doing things. And just so many wonderful stories from my granddad and grandmother.
And Sundays, right? Sundays were a family day.
Yeah, so I mean, we have this tradition we started back in 1987 where we have it's called the Polar Bear Club down at the family farm, and we had over 60 family members come in yesterday for lunch together.
Wow.
So after church, we all just gathered together, and some of us jumped in the lake for, I think, the 38th or 39th straight year.
That's amazing.
So family is really important, but this Richmond community has been really great to all of us. So many people have believed us, and I know one of the things that we always try to do is give back and make sure that we're active in the community. There's nothing worse than somebody that comes into the community, sells you something and then disappears, right? So we feel like this is our home, and we really love the fact that so many people miss the fried chicken and the breakfast pizza, but you can still get them at the market hall.
Still get the rainbow cookies at Publix, not the same, but you can still, my daughter is a fan. I think it's funny, the story, obviously kind of has a sad ending in some senses, but it also has a beautiful ending because, I mean, from what I understand, the reasons to be were that you didn't want to compromise the value and the brand. It was a tough time to continue offering at the level of service you guys were offering, knowing people's names and, giving free cookies and, just being, so service oriented wasn't exactly aligning with the grocery market in the way that, it used to.
Yeah, I mean, so I can't speak. My dad and my uncle were the ultimate decision makers, right? But having been in the room a little bit, things have changed. I mean, you can just, even today, everything is more transactional. It's not relational. And I think the experience at a Ukrop supermarket was about the relationships. And, I still go into different places, and I run into people that used to work in it, making chicken and making pizzas, and front end managers and just different folks. And it's so hard, but you're nice to see that they're in this next phase of their life and they're contributing. And I do get a lot of people come up and say, my experience at Ukrop's taught me to be friendly and kind and warm, and all these things that they've applied to their new whatever the job is now, they're taking on. So I think that's the cool legacy of Ukrop's to me at this point. But yeah, certainly some sad times, and I know for sure the family on Christmas Eve, that was maybe the most frenetic day of the year, with people getting last minute things, and it was really all hands on deck. If you were back from college, you were in the store bagging groceries, trying to help out on the front end.
Did you do all the jobs, or was your?
I did some of the jobs. So I think my favorite job, like, I'm introverted by nature, so I love doing the stock crew at night. I mean, my first night on my own, I sliced my finger up and I was embarrassed. So, I cut up my hoodie, I wrapped it around so I could keep working the rest of the night. And the guys are like, "Hey man, if you get injured, you get paid and you get to leave early." And I'm like, "Well, I mean, it was my first night alone, and my dad's the boss. It's kind of awkward."
Yeah, really.
So I got home, and my mom's like, "Why didn't you go to the hospital?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're good." So, but the hard work and the things that we learned from my granddad. I mean, he was just such a wonderful man, a man of few words that worked hard, put his family and his love for Christ first. So those are really great values and great lessons that we've learned. So
yeah, I mean, today's grocery stores, most of the time you don't even get a cashier, which I'll be on the record as saying I hate, because something inevitably triggers that thing to go off, and I still have to call someone over anyway. So I'm like, was this really useful?
Is it a good thing? Yeah,
right.
agreed.
I mean, if I set one item on that scale accidentally, the whole thing is triggered. So it's like, I don't know. And I like the conversation. I like talking to somebody. Right. I like, I like those couple minutes with a real human being. And you seldom get them,
Yeah, I mean, you say that. I was in Target the other night, and you go through the checkout, and like you said, something gets messed up, so you're waiting anyway. But we have a couple dogs, and go over to PetSmart, and there's a lady named Vegas who's got her husband's having some health troubles, and it's so refreshing when I walk in and Vegas like, "Hey Rob," and I'm like, "Hey Vegas," and then when I check out, she takes her time. She doesn't rush me through. We get to catch up a little bit. Some days we'll bring her some fried chicken, but
I know
just that human interaction. I think
I actually go there too, and I know her. Yes,
she's wonderful. Isn't
yeah,
she?
Yeah, she's a character. Yeah. No, that interaction matters to people, and I think it mattered to this community a great deal. And I think, I do think grocery stores are like a cultural sort of example of where you are and how people relate, and it's a bit sad that there are so many big box stores and not so many little options anymore,
Right. I
say little, it's not like you guys were little, but you know what I mean?
No, I agree. I think the
family
training, people just want to do a job, kids have their phones. So, you go into Target and guy's got his earbud in and he's listening to his phone, and I'm like,
yeah.
And then he's checking his phone. And I'm like, "Hey, I had a question for you."
Right.
So, I mean, I think this customer service thing is disappearing. Hopefully, it, like everything in life, it kind of circles back. So, hopefully, in the next couple of years, it'll start to change. At the Richmond Kickers over in Richmond Ivy over City Stadium, that's one of the things that we really stress. We want to make sure it's a positive experience for everybody, and just interact with people. Just say hi. A smile goes a long way. You never know what your smile will do for somebody. I mean, people are going through tough times. They don't always show it on the outside, but just a little smile, a little bit of encouragement, it really goes a long way.
Yeah. Well, how is your family doing? How is everybody? How's your dad? What does he think of all of this grocery changes?
Would
he
great.
be a curmudgeon like me about the self-checkout, or would he have another thought?
Dad loves going to grocery stores. He checks out our products in different places. My son lives in Nashville, does that over in Nashville. Checks some stores. We've got some different items over there. So
yeah,
he loves the retail experience. I think he's a little bit thankful that he's not in it some days.
Sure.
But he grew up, and I mean, he and my uncle did such a wonderful job of building relationships. I mean, my dad, he still remembers people's names. He runs into people, and he remembered the last time he saw them. And it's just it's a great lesson in terms of being a good human and interacting with people, and actually not just saying hi to say hi, but actually look them in the eye and ask them how they're doing or how their grandchild. So dad's doing well, and my mom's the ultimate cheerleader since they met back in I think they met in 7th grade, but they went to the old George Wythe High School, and
wow.
I mean, she's got her megaphone. He was a basketball player, and I mean, it's just so many cool little things about my mom and dad that
that's a great story. Yeah. I wonder if you think is it possible that big box stores could apply that same mentality, or do you think it requires a business to be small in order to keep that? I mean, I look at some place like Chick-fil-A, and you can't go to a Chick-fil-A without having a nice, kind experience. I've yet to ever go there and have someone be anything but really. So that company is massive. They've done something well, but I wonder is it always compromised when you get huge? Is that sense of being able to sort of manage the culture out of reach?
Gosh, I'm not an expert on this at all, but but my experience is whoever the leadership is important, right? Everybody talks about culture, but it always starts at the top. So if the leader is wants to be kind and is willing to sacrifice potentially some profit to make sure that everybody has a positive experience, knowing that the long-term impact you have on your community. I think that's where the story really is.
Yeah.
My friend over at Chick-fil-A, Blake Kell, who's got the 2 here at Willow Lawn, and just an exceptional human being, and we meet usually once a month and just chat about life and faith and different things, and just learn so much about how the Chick-fil-A operation works. That thing, it flows like from 12 to 1.
I think they should like run our
chaos.
healthcare system. I'm in line and I'm like, why aren't they involved in more things? Like, this is brilliant,
Right. Well, I think the other lesson is, this is what they know. They know how to run a efficient chicken operation.
Yeah.
And the customer service piece, they really focus on it. And
yeah.
Sometimes people you want to get bigger, and you get too big, and you can't control those other variables. And not that Chick-fil-A small, but I guess their motto with these guys have 2 or 3 locations they run, and they have these employees that they train really, really well. And I think the training is important. Most people don't want to get trained.
Leaders are
it makes
a big part
difference.
of that. Yeah.
So.
Well, you lead an organization, the Richmond Kickers, and tell us what's new in that world.
Oh, so we're in the process of getting ready for the 2026 season. Preseason starts on January 15th. So the players will be returning in just under a month now, I guess. So
it seems soon, doesn't it? It's like,
it does. It gets longer every year. So our head coach Darren Sawatsky and our team president Camp Peary, we've been working hard to rebuild the roster. We lost a couple of coaches to new opportunities. So we've got a new staff coming in to join Darren and Evan, our goalkeeper coach. So we're really excited about the team that we're building for next year. Everybody wants to win. The most important thing for us is to get good human beings. We want to make sure that we're active in the community. I think the last couple of years we could have been more active, and we're going to really focus on that this year.
Yeah.
Whether it's soccer clinics and just being out in the public, making sure that people know this is their team. It's we have a big dependence on young players from Richmond. Last year there was a couple games where we started 5 or 6 kids that went to high school here. So when we say that we're Richmond's team, we are really Richmond's team. There's not many other clubs around the country that are doing what we're trying to do, so we're really excited. I love my friends at the Squirrels, but it's very rare to see a kid that grew up in Richmond playing for the Squirrels. So
True.
If you went to Deep Run or you went to Glen Allen, went to Matoka, we have kids that went to those schools, Maggie Walker, St. Christopher's. We've had a bunch of different kids come through our program that grew up here, and some of them we've signed at 16, 17 years old.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. So, what is the average length of a soccer career? Like, when are you done? Is it like tennis where it's somewhere in the early 30s? It's like you're over the hill?
It depends. So in the minor league world of soccer, the minimum contract this year will be $23,500. That's the minimum that they make, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these young guys do some coaching on the side, do some other things. Some of them do some. We have an opportunity for some of these guys to do college as well through a partnership with Bellevue University. So there's some different opportunities, but everybody wants to see how far you can go, and at some point, Father Time knocks on your door. For me, it happened when I was 34.
Was it physical mostly?
It was physical, but you start to realize you put so much work into it to get into these games, and maybe your playing time's not there. You figure, if I'm going to put all this time into this, maybe there's something else I can do to make our community stronger. So, So that's where I kind of landed many years ago. But these young guys, some guys, you chase opportunities. It used to be when I came out of college back in 1993, January. You played indoor and you played outdoor. So you go 6 months playing indoor, 6 month outdoor, and that was just the routine. And I loved it. It was great. You pack up your car, drive to the next city, get an apartment for 6 months, and just build these wonderful relationships with human beings. And that's the one thing about sports. You get to travel as a team. You spend a lot of time together. You don't have to be best friends, but you just start to build this bond. And I think that's the beauty of any team.
Yeah. So is that the description of the current players on your team? They do mostly indoor and somewhere else?
No. So
okay.
now our season will run 10 months. So it'll run January 15th to November 15th.
Okay. So
these guys,
there's no time for that.
Right. So these guys that have signed with us, they're full-time players. Typically we have 3 to 4 kids that are in high school that train with us every day. They'll be on an academy contract.
Wow.
So these young men, they will do school online in the afternoon, or they've got something worked out with their school, but they'll be in the pro environment every morning with the pro guys.
Fascinating. What an experience for them.
Yeah.
That's and I'm sure good energy. Like when you get somebody young in there, it kind of ignites everybody.
It's good. It's like anything, right? everybody, once you find success, what's the next level, and then how do you get there? In sports, playing in an environment where you're challenged every day is good for you.
Yeah.
As long as you don't get discouraged. Sometimes, you need to find a different venue. But for our young guys, we're hoping to sell a couple of these guys on to Europe at some point. We do have one of our players. We're working on he's going to go on a trial in Europe here shortly. So we've got some opportunities, and for us, we want to make sure these young men from Richmond have this opportunity to fulfill their career as a professional soccer player. Hopefully, Richmond Kickers is not their last stop; it's just the first stop.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we're going to talk more about the Kickers in just a second, because I want to. We were talking earlier about Carmex Park and the flying squirrels, and I want to talk about how that affects you guys. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. If you're enjoying Untold, like and subscribe on YouTube. You can also rate and follow us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. So, Rob, tell me about sort of, how you see the Kickers in Richmond. Do you think people are utilizing them as a sport, as a team enough, or do you feel like there could be, like you mentioned before, more outreach, more, drawing fans in?
Oh, well, so we've done great. Till this past year, we led the league in attendance for the 23-24 season. 25 season, a new team in Portland led the league at 5,700, but we've been over about 4,500 per game over the last several years, so which has been great, which has led the league. I think there's so many opportunities here in Richmond. If you've never been out to City Stadium for a soccer match, you should try it. We've got a brand new Jumbotron 65 by 35. It's huge. We show replays. We activate the fan cams. It's changed how people see soccer, I believe.
Yeah.
But we've had a ton of people that haven't come out in many, many years out there, and they're like, wow, this is a great experience. So for us, game day is really special. It's like anything. The stadium was built in 1929, so it does show a little bit of age, but it does have some some wonderful history there. Some great things have happened at the event, and almost everybody in Richmond that grew up in Richmond has been to City Stadium, whether it was for a University of Richmond football game, baseball game. They did some car racing at one point. I think the most impactful thing, my dad, I think it was 1956, said that Billy Graham came and did a couple revivals out at City Stadium.
Oh, wow.
My dad said he sat in the East Stands and watched people come to Christ as Billy Graham's right at their midfield. So, soccer, we've had World Cup qualifiers. We've had Mia Hamm here multiple times with the 99ers, World Cup qualifiers. So we've had a lot of great players, great people, and just great events out there. So, and the nice part, soccer, unlike baseball, it's 2 hours. You come out,
right. Kickoff
happens. If there's a weather delay and you go back to your car, you're probably just going to go home. You're not going to wait it out. But these games, they go quick. And, I think the most impactful thing we do after the games, whether it's Kickers or Ivy, our teams come over to the wall and they sign autographs for every kid that wants one. And it's just, it's aspirational for us. The reason that there's still a team in Richmond for both women and men is just we want these young people in Richmond to be able to come out to the game and look at Jill Flamia or we got so many different guys, Landon Johnson, Beckett, Howe, Griffin Garnett, some of these guys that you just I want to be like that guy. And I think that's such an aspirational opportunity for these young soccer players. And the nice part is all of these players have had a different path, right? So, in the youth space, the Richmond Kickers are no longer in the youth soccer space. But one of the things about the youth space is, you're telling a kid, oh, this is the only way to do this. But, the beauty of soccer, there's so many different pathways. It's not a straight line from point A to point B. Different experience, whether it's high school soccer, whether it's club soccer, academy, or even training with our pro team. There's so many different ways to get to to find your full potential. So if you come out into a game, find a player that you love, if you send them a note, they'll follow back up with you. We have some great human beings on both the men on the Kicker side and the Ivy.
What is your interaction like? I mean, some part of your job is obviously business related, a big part of your job. Do you reach your hand down in there and mentor these guys? Are you at any practices? I know you still love soccer. It's very clear that you're, it's a lifelong passion, obsession, whatever you want to call it. But do you want to jump in there and get involved, or do you sort of keep your distance?
So I come to practice from time to time and I'll watch and, do I want to play? Do I think I can score goals still? Maybe in some set pieces, but I can't.
Do you want to though?
Oh, there's nothing better than scoring a goal with the crowd and the celebration, the excitement, and just the power of the energy and celebrating with your teammates. Those are things That's
it
the
does
hardest
look
part
fun.
about it.
I don't know.
I mean,
but
it
does
is
look
amazing.
Fun. Yeah.
So, but I show up at practice from time to time. But we have a guy that runs the soccer side. Camp runs the business side. So Darren and Camp do a really good job. I try and stay out of it as much as I can. For me, the most important part is, I guess I'm maybe turning into my dad, my granddad, but at games, I try and walk around and speak to people. I think my favorite story, maybe I shouldn't tell this, but this happens usually once a year. But I'll be on the concourse pregame and just walking around and, hey, how you doing? How's the game going? You excited to be here? He goes, yeah, I'm a longtime Kickers fan. I said, oh, yeah? He said, yeah, I used to come out and watch Rob Ukrop play. And I said, oh, yeah? And he said, yeah,
oh, no.
We're pretty good friends. And I said, really? Well, I always tell him that Rob Ukrop will be out here at some point tonight, so just keep your eye out and make sure you say hi.
Oh my gosh,
and then I shake their hand.
So
I mean, it's fun, but it just is a reminder that I've been part of the history for a long time.
Right.
And I've been part of it.
Yeah.
It also shows me people haven't been out there for a long time.
Right,
because one of the things that my wife and I try and do at every game, win, lose, or draw, we stand at the fence at the gate as people walk out and just thank them. We take some incoming. There's been some scenes where my wife's she's like, I'm going to turn into the bodyguard. I'm like, just don't amplify the situation, honey. Yeah. But my wife's an incredible partner. She's a great supporter of what I do. I mean, I can't imagine her having to go out to all these games with me. And, I'm out there talking to people and greeting them and learning more about what's happening. And but yeah, just being at the gate is so fun. Just to see watching a little kid holding their dad's hand, celebrating an autograph. They're like, look whose autograph I have. And I've got Josh Kirkland. I met him tonight. I got a shoe. I got a glove. There's just so many great things that these young people do on the field that impacts our community. So it's just a really joyful thing.
We had Parney on the show, I guess a couple of months ago, and we were talking about the opening of the new Carmex Stadium and the Squirrels as a franchise and his role and him kind of stepping back and all of that. And I said to him, how hard is it to get people interested in minor league baseball? I think it's, when you have the machine of the national leagues that really kind of promote the sport, that's one thing, but how do you do that on a local level? And he's like, you don't sell the baseball, you sell the experience. Right. If people are truly baseball fans, they're probably, going to go anyway, or they're going to go to a Nationals game or something. But if you're wanting to get people involved, you have to focus on the experience, as you just said, the father holding the son's hand. Right. So all of these sort of extras, moments, that's really what keeps people returning. They might love soccer. Right. Or they may just love being outside with their kids and having something wholesome to do and watching a game, And so I think, he's devoted himself to sort of that promotion. And I think he has done really well. It's pretty clear he has.
He's a great role model for a lot of people that get into sports. A lot of people get into sports for the wrong reason. Parney is just a great example of somebody that got into it because he loves people. Yeah. And this is his chance to make a difference in a community. And what they've done has been phenomenal. Obviously at the Richmond Kickers and Richmond Ivy, we all kind of, I don't say we're envious, but it's great. It's a great plan. It's just kind of here's how you do it. And, we've got Camp's a former Richmond Squirrel employee, as well as Drew Norris, who's our VP of sales. So, we have some Tom Pritzel, a couple of people that come over, and they've been really great, people first, and it just makes a difference in our day-to-day experience with people.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think he does really love people, and that's really clear. You know what I mean? He's everywhere, not because he has to be, but because he really wants to be.
Right.
And that story of you being at the game and shaking people's hand and saying hello, I think he does that, maybe the best I've ever seen of somebody who just is tireless in socializing. Yeah. You know what I mean? I could last an hour and I'd be like, oh God. Yeah. I don't want to talk anymore.
Well, he does have the Parney pants. It's great talking piece.
He does. He wore them. He wore them the day he came here, and I actually think they had a hole in them. I think we discovered while he was here that he had a hole in his pants. But yes, how do you see the new stadium impacting you guys? Because obviously that's a pretty big deal.
I mean, it's been fun because I keep hearing how they're going to activate it and do events, and they have a lot of baseball games, but over at City Stadium for the last 5 years, we've averaged over 180 events per year.
Wow.
We work with the sports backers for marathon training. We do a couple different 5K races. We work with the Alzheimer's Association. We work with Hitting Cancer Below the Belt, Minnie Conklin and her team. We do lots of different events. We do some, what do we call it? We do some food truck rodeos. We've done some happy hours out there. We've done a bunch of different opportunities for people just to come out and celebrate at City Stadium. To me, it's a community hub. That's the number one thing. We have a wonderful lease with the city. The city has been a great partner. We poured about $4.5 million in the stadium in the last 5 years.
Wow.
Trying to get it up to speed so that when people come out to game, they feel like they're part of something. And we're excited about that.
Is a new stadium ever in your goals?
So we do have some plans for City Stadium.
Yeah.
We're kind of quietly working behind the scenes on that. But one of the things that we've always tried to do is under promise and then over deliver. That's kind of in our DNA. So when fortunately right before COVID, that's when we made the first big set of improvements at City Stadium, and we got shut down. And then we had the 800 people that could come to a game because of the new rules with COVID. But
right.
The timing of that was unfortunate for every business out there, right? But one of the things we found during COVID was sports is one of those things that brings people together, and people were wearing their masks and sipping on their drink because pull your mask down so you could sip on your drink, and people just like sip slowly so they didn't have to have the mask on, right? So we just felt like there's so many people that love being around the community, and we want to connect people, right? That's the best part about sports. If you came to a Richmond Kickers game in 1995 or 1996, quite frankly, it was white suburbia. You come to a Kickers game now, it looks like this incredible, beautiful city that we have of Richmond that's just so diverse and unique. It just brings people from all walks of life, all different faiths, all different everything. Like you come out there and you're like, this is great. It's
truly
just a time to celebrate.
Representative of Richmond.
Right, because this is your team. This is Richmond. The Richmond Kickers are the longest continuously run soccer club in the country, along with the Charleston Battery, dating back to
that's
May of
amazing.
1993.
Yeah, so that's in the fabric. People, I don't know if everybody knows that fact, but that's important.
It's neat. So, like I said, I made the joke about the person that was talking to me. Like I used to have a full head of hair when I played soccer, right? So when you see me now, maybe you don't know, but we have a lot people that have been coming to games.
It's a great even story that you held it and didn't tell them. I think that's even better.
I don't know. I'm just one person that loves the community. I love City Stadium. I've got so many memories, and I quite frankly, my dad was, obviously you probably know, was actively in the build of the original Diamond, right, back in 1983, 84. But I can remember going to games at Parker Field with my dad, and it was really impactful because being at a sporting event with my dad, he understood why they're throwing an outside pitch and why do you throw it inside and why do you hit the batter, right? All these different things, just sitting in the stands with my dad, having a hot dog and eating some popcorn. But there's one really interesting thing that happened. So I can remember walking at Parker Field. I got an autograph from a guy, and I said, "Sir, can I have your autograph?" And he didn't look at me. He just kept walking and signed it. And then I looked at it and I tried to read it, and I'm like, I didn't know who it was. So that was the moment that I said, man, when I want to be a professional athlete one day, whatever I'm playing, I want to make sure that when I sign an autograph, I'm going to look the kid in the eye, I'm going to smile at them, and I'm going to make sure they can read who it is. Because there's nothing worse than getting an autograph and you're like, I have no idea who this is, right?
This could be somebody big or nobody at all, but yeah.
But it just goes back to, time with my dad, just the two of us watching a baseball game together, right? So, that's going to continue at Carmax Park with the Squirrels, which is wonderful. But, people do this at University of Richmond basketball games, down at the Siegel Center with VCU basketball games. But, for us, Richmond Kickers and Richmond Ivy, there's a bunch of dates throughout the summer and the fall and now the spring as well, that you get a chance to be out there and support your local club. And there's usually, you can find a connection within our team. There's somebody that or somebody, maybe it's the Kevin Bacon 6 Degrees of Separation. That people have connections to City Stadium, and we just wanted you to come out, have a wonderful time. And, if we lose the game, you're still going to smile because there's something there that you got to meet somebody, you see a long lost friend. So that's the beauty of sports.
Yeah. And like, whether you're a fan or small fan, big fan of soccer, it's the experience of sort of like having all that energy in one space, because it's a lot of energy, and that's I take my kids to games, both Squirrels and Kickers, and they're so little, they don't quite understand all the rules, but they understand when something exciting happens.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that kind of tells you everything. You know, they can feel the energy, like they know when people are clapping and they're excited, you know, they want to see what happened. And it's a really basic but beautiful thing about sports, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, I always think about the human side of it, right? So about 3 years ago, I was walking on the concourse pregame, and there's this young lady with crazy hair, and I think she was probably 9 or 10 at the time, and she's like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" So we introduced ourselves, and we've become pretty good friends now. So her name is Tegan Higley, and she's got some medical challenges. She's part of our RV Access soccer program, which is the largest special needs soccer program in the state. And it's really fun because I go to the games and I see her, and we see her from time to time away from games, and we just got this cool bond of, you know, hey, high five. She buys a jersey, she buys some gear.
Yeah.
She loves the Kickers, and quite frankly, with her health challenges she's had, there's been a couple times when our guys, we put together videos. She's been in the hospital, and our team, our girls, men and women, they do these videos. They send them to Tegan, and just the amount of uplift that it gives to Tegan and her family. So, you know, you always think about, you know, if we don't win enough games, we're going to hear about it. We understand that part about it, but just the amount of impact you can have on human lives by just through sports and just being nice. And I guess it kind of circles back to what we talked about at the beginning about, you know, being in the grocery store, and, you know, you get to talk to somebody, you check out, and there's that human interaction that's relational. And, you know, really hopefully when people come out to Richmond Kickers or Ivy game, it's the relational part, and they feel like they've made a friend or they've met somebody that's invested in them and wants to make their day a little bit better.
Well, I think you mentioned human legacy, and I think we're going to talk about the family legacy of the Ukrops when we come back on the other side of this break. We'll be right back. If you're enjoying Untold, like and subscribe on YouTube. You can also rate and follow us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. So let's talk about how you feel about the Ukrop's legacy. Your family, as you said, has been so invested in this community through sports, through obviously the grocery chain, and then obviously through all the philanthropic work that you guys do. You're so involved. There's obviously a deep love of Richmond. How does it feel to have that last name? And, you know, what do you think? What do you think it's sort of, you know, what do you think it says? What do you want people to think about when they hear that name?
Well, I can share the story. So when I was getting out of high school, I went to Davidson College, and my first day of class, I got in there and they said, "Rob Ukrop." And it was the most amazing thing because he didn't add an S to my name.
I'm anonymous.
They spelled my name. So it was a chance for me to kind of build my own resume, if you will.
Yeah.
So that was fun. But, you know, as I look at it, I mean, the name really goes right back to my granddad, my uncle, my dad. I mean, they've done so many wonderful things that I'm proud to say. As I get older, I learn about more things they've done that people have no idea that they've done. So I think the humility part, you know, we don't want credit for it.
It's a huge part of the city, though. There's so much of them woven throughout. You know?
So, you know, my uncle, he's been Uncle James he's an amazing human being. Like, you know, just watching his love for arts and the city and government and the different things that he's kind of advocated for in the city that he's worked hard on. And, you know, I think the nice part about my dad and my uncle is, like, you know, they're not afraid to stand on their principles, you know, even if it's not popular. And I think that's one of the great lessons that my siblings and I have all learned is that, you know, you might be in the minority on something. It might be very unpopular, but, you know, if that's what you believe in, it's okay, and people will respect you for holding the line to what you believe. It doesn't make you a bad person. And I do think, well, that's one of the challenges, just the general world these days is, like, if you're on the opposite side of something, that you can't be friends because.
Right.
You know,
I've never understood that. I have so many different people with different political views on this program, and we can talk openly about all of it, and I can understand where everybody's coming from. Like, I'm like, that should be, you know, that should be the way we do things, right? I mean, are you thinking of one instance in particular where your dad is, like, taking a hard line?
No, I mean, I mean, there's so many different things that, you know, I think the famous one, many people, I think my uncle wrote a letter to Howard Stern one time, long ago. So that's always one of those funny stories that people, people come up and bring that up to me. I think I know, my dad, my uncle, not a huge fan of the casino, right? And, a lot of people in Richmond like the casino.
A lot of people didn't, though.
Right.
They voted it down twice.
Yeah, and they voted down twice. And, I know my dad, my uncle. So I just admire the fact that, they're not afraid of a fight, and when they're involved in something, it might be contentious, but they take the high road. They share what they believe, and it doesn't mean what everybody else believes, but I think they're consistent. They don't try and change their view to benefit there's no economic benefit for my dad or my uncle. It's just they think this is the right thing for the community, the way that they experience it. I know other people experience the community differently. So just two wonderful leaders, super excited. I think the story I'll share, we had a family meeting many years ago, probably 10 or 15 years ago, and my uncle said something, and I actually disagree with him. So I said, well, I can't believe this. And I said, well, this is what I believe. And he came at me pretty hard. And then about 10 minutes later, we had a break, and I went into the bathroom, and I'm at one urinal, he's at the next one, and he walks off and he passed me in the back and is like, hey, so how's Shannon? How the kids doing? You guys doing all right? And it's like, we didn't even have a disagreement.
Yeah.
And it was just a really good reminder that, when you respect people and you care about people, they're allowed to have their opinion. It doesn't mean you agree on everything. But I just think that's the beauty of not only family, but hopefully more people will start to operate like that.
Right.
So, right.
Right. You can have a different perspective on something, but you can still respect each other as people.
Right.
Yeah. I wonder, and this is just my personal curiosity, is anyone in your family like a foodie? I mean, is food of interest, or was it really more about the business and the humanity that pushed the grocery store?
That's a good question. Like, my wife is a foodie.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm a basic eater.
Yeah.
So.
And your dad?
My dad, he's a healthy eater. My dad is.
So he's not having the fried chicken. So he's not having.
He'll have it probably in moderation.
Okay.
So I could eat the whole thing of fried chicken.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of operate. I'm more of the extremist, but no, my mom and dad, dad's very health conscious. I mean, he's 79. He's still, I think he walks or runs. I know he walks every night. He used to run every day. He probably plays 36 holes of golf every week. He's like a 4 handicapper.
Wow.
So I don't think I beat him the last couple times we played. So foodie, what we sell wouldn't be considered foodie, really.
Oh, I just wondered, food interest. Is there?
We have. I mean, the family keeps growing, and it gets, with more kids and grandkids for people. The family grows, and I know I would never call my dad a foodie, but he loves our prepared foods. I know my mom fixes one pretty much every night for him when she's not cooking. So
that's nice. Yeah, I just wonder. I mean, there are so many things that people are very attached to. The Ukrop's brand, and obviously fried chicken comes to mind, rainbow cookies come to mind, chicken salad comes to mind. What am I leaving out?
I mean, I like the Butterstar cookies myself.
Oh yeah,
breakfast pizza,
the rolls. I mean,
the cinnamon crumb cakes are popular these days.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, there's a lot of things to be attached to. So I didn't know if there was any if you guys purely saw this as a business, or there was food attachment involved.
No, I think it was something my granddad loved. My granddad was a meat cutter originally. And in the story, he worked at I believe it was A&P, and somebody came in to talk to the manager saying, hey, I've got 700 square feet. Do you want to open another A&P? And he said no, and my granddad overheard the conversation and said, do you mind if I go talk to him? And that's kind of how he got it started.
That's how it started? Mm-hmm. That's an amazing story.
So,
yeah.
So.
You think about the way things, the origin or the spark of things, and it's one small twist in that story could have taken your whole family legacy on a different path.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, I don't love the word legacy. I just think, it all started off down in the East End, down by the airport and kind of the Varina area. But that's where the Slovaks were. My granddad, Slovakian heritage, and we were down at the farm yesterday, and it's just so many wonderful memories of, they built a church, Poplar Springs Baptist Church down there. So there's pictures of my dad with his, his cowboy hat on and his holster with nails as they built the foundation. He's walking around giving nails to my granddad and his friends and family as they built the church. So, great memories down there. I mean, they're just normal people that, love their community and try to pitch in where they could help. Like, you can't, I always think the thing, you hear all these people, whether it's a politician or just somebody's like, promises you all these things, is like, the best way to make a difference in the community is just do something you're good at. Just one little thing, you don't even have to be good at it. Just volunteer your time 1 hour a week somewhere. But all these little things add up, and it makes our community, I do think Richmond's one of the most philanthropic, cities in the country. I've got friends in other places, and they're always impressed with how much philanthropy comes through to build and do and impact children and adults and special needs families and just so many people. And it's just a wonderful place to live. It makes me happy. I think about, my granddad. I used to work. We'd have a work week with him once for a week every summer, and my buddy Philip Shear and I, we went down there one Sunday or one week, and you get up at 5 a.m. 5:30, eat breakfast. You're out there working, driving the tractor, doing stuff on the farm.
Wow.
11:45, you come in, you get ready. At 12:01, you're basically done eating. My grandmother makes you sandwiches at 12, and then you take a little siesta, and 1 o'clock you're back out there till like 4:30 or 5. And I mean, it was a hard day, but it was just working with your hands and just simple things. It just is a reminder. I think these kids these days, and my own kids, everybody has a phone and an iPad, and like, hey, go interact with somebody, go help them out, pitch in. And I think that's the best thing you can pass on to your kids, right? Is, that hard work, that ability to work with people and take the time to get to know people. Because, the nice part about, whether I was working with my granddad or my dad or even working in the stores through the years when I was a teenager, I got to meet so many different people from so many different backgrounds. And, we're all, everybody's like, I felt like I got treated different because I was the boss's kid. But I tried to make sure I worked my butt off so that they're like, man, that guy works really hard. And I built some really wonderful friendships out of it. So I'm thankful for that.
Well, I think Richmond is thankful for the humanity and the kindness that your family has spread. And I think, that's certainly fair to say. So I really appreciate you coming by and visiting with us today. And I hope you have a successful season.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and thanks for all the insights. And we'll see you next time on Untold.
Untold is a production of WTVR CBS 6. Executive produced by Mike Bergazzi and Katie Beck, directed by Nick Maharaj and Brock Taylor, and edited by April Harshman. Follow the show on Instagram at Untold_WTVR.